There we go, graduates. I found them real fast by my standards. That felt good. All right, folks. We've got Kuwabara, who's graduated 3 times, goes to the 300 cohort and says starting over fresh. Maybe they got a Lichess rating adjusted. Let's have a quick look. Their preferred rating is chess.com. Their current rating is at 634. They graduated from 300 to 400 and just got put back into it, I guess. Okay. No games up here at the moment to look at. But Kuwabara-kun, looking at the info I do have, it looks like you should do some more tactics. That's, other than playing, that's kind of the bread and butter of progress for the first 1,000 rating points, which is, a pretty big mountain to climb, 1,000 points. But yeah, I think along with playing games, it's doing some tactics, and I see that so far the tactics ratings on the profile are not that high. Let me try and make this screen capture a little better for what we're up to here. Jesse has 2 different screen captures, so I'll have to adjust. So we're gonna have one screen capture that shows us their business, what they've been up to, and then we'll make a second screen capture that'll capture games the best for people who've got games to look at. So if you guys can now see what I'm looking at down here, checkmate tests. It's good that Kuwabara-kun has done some checkmate tests. They haven't done any tactics tests, and the puzzle rush, 5 minutes, and survival, again, should be aiming for 500, right, at this level? Yeah. So not too bad, but we'd like to see like a 500-ish score on the checkmate tests and the tactics tests, maybe. It would be 2 things that Kuwabara-kun could work towards. I have been working out, Falgary, yeah. Not as hard as Jesse actually does, probably, but, Right now on my schedule, it says workout. I put it in my calendar. But this was the deal I struck with Jesse. He was willing to look at Gukesh versus Ding with me. We expected Ding to play today. He was willing to look at Gukesh versus Ding with me if I would do the candidates show afterwards. So that's how it is. I'm going to try and get in my workout anyway at the very end of the day before picking up the kids. There's hope for me that I can fit it in. Okay, so that's Kuwabara-kun. Let's go to another graduate. Oh, there's some good ones. There's some good comments to read coming up. Let's check out the Germaniac, who has been doing some work. I see on their heat graph. They use Lichess Classical, and they have previously graduated from 500 to 600, and now they've been put back in 400, 500 by the great rating adjustment. Current Lichess rating is 1262, which is the highest it's ever been since the rating. You see people start out automatically high on Lichess, have to shed hundreds of points till they reach their real level, and then has worked their way up somewhat. 100 points to go. Let's check the tactics ratings. Yeah, so here again, good puzzle rush score on 5 minutes, and could maybe try a dojo tactic test someday. It takes maybe 30 minutes for the checkmate test, maybe an hour for the tactics test. So if you've got a solid, undisturbed 30 minutes or 60 minutes, I would say trying out one of those tactics tests could be good. See where your number falls, lets you know if you need to be working more on tactics. Let's see if there's any games here from the Germaniac. This one is from September 2024, aka now. And we're going to add a screen capture. This window here. And this is just going to be to make our board bigger, folks. Put it over here. Beep, ba-doop, ba-doop. All right. We're going to put it like this so that basically we can see the graduates' comments on their games. Have you just graduated, Ferguson? Are you on the list today? If so, congrats! All right, let's have a look at this game. So we got the Germaniacs playing black here, faces a stone wall, developing all the pieces and wins a pawn. And the comments, takes. Good work. Good work, Germaniac. That's some clear commentary. Your opponent's moving too many pawns, right? So we can say that. Interesting question if we can come into c2 here. You tried it but said should have played knight g3. Oh, knight g3 looks interesting too, yeah. You do end up with a tempo on the rook, but your opponent's got a way out, which is bishop takes d6, hitting your rook, and it's an equal trade, which is fine. You're up a pawn. Nothing wrong with what Germaniac is doing here. Gets the full bishop pair. 2 bishops against 2 knights. The thing to note about Germaniac's play is they're never making any blunders. No hanging pieces. Now, this would be an interesting puzzle for MZ. If MZ were a dojo graduate today, we would say, MZ, what do you think? Is there any possible way to save this knight? Or is it gone, right? And oh, they found this rook b2 idea. Wow. Okay, so MZ suddenly comes up with some really fancy moves. f6, knight d3 is going to be a mess. Attacks it, trades it, and we get to play an endgame. Holy moly. Unfazed, Germaniac goes and picks up that key second pawn. Well, this is a game you can be really proud of, Germaniac. This game does not belong in the under 1,000 graduations. You have slightly shakier technique at the very end here. Now you don't know how to win. That's interesting. Okay, yeah, so you only won the endgame because eventually your opponent blundered this rook takes d4 thing, hitting the knight, and didn't find the move knight e6 here, which would have turned the game on its head. So I can see you started wandering confused once we got down to this endgame here. Up to here, it's all perfect. I don't even know why you're here. And now we see that you don't have a lot of endgame experience, which is really normal for players at this level, that you'll have minimal endgame experience. The easiest way to win this endgame, and a lot of endgames, is to pick out your strongest candidate for queening, your strongest pass pawn, and try and just push it down the board. So to me, that's this A pawn. You've got a rook behind it and a rook in front of it. So if you just start pushing this pawn A5, A4, I think you're going to crush it just with that pawn, right? So I just show a variation here, here. Might as well take this pawn, right? Make the knight move somewhere, push. They can look for some counterplay against your king, which is a little bit annoying. But you're so winning with the pawn that by now, you could even do something like this if you calculate carefully. Whoops, should not have done it. All right, we're going to calculate it more carefully. Let's go rook b3, check here, and then after the rook moves, we'll get back to pushing. That's a generally clean way to try to win this endgame. So the moment I knew you were in trouble was when you moved the rook off of a8. When I saw you take the rook away from behind your pawn, I knew that you didn't have the experience with winning these endgames. That was like the sign to me. And I knew that this was the moment I was going to come back to. So that's one little tip we're able to give to the Germaniac. Another thing I'm noticing about this game is that to some extent, as Jesse mentioned, there's more comments in the middle game and opening and less comments in the end game as far as going over the game. Nevertheless, folks, look at this. Germaniac says, good for me. He didn't see the knight fork after knight e6. So Germaniac did notice the key opportunity of the entire game for the opponent and also noticed that this move here was a blunder. So that was the key chance in the entire game, and Germaniac spotted it. So even though they didn't comment a ton of stuff in the endgame, I think if you comment the key moment, you're getting full marks from me. So that's a very good game and game analysis. And to my mind, I would think Germaniac's going to keep moving up from what I see in that game and the commentary on it. So yeah, good work, Germaniac. Congrats. Nicely done. Thanks for having a game up there for us all, Sharon. Now we'll check Jono. Jono has 0 dojo points in this cohort. Chess.com Rapid is 1,500. Next graduation's at 750. FIDE rating also in the 1,500s. I think Jono's just in the wrong cohort. They need to be moved up like a million cohorts. But I see that they started with us at 644 chess.com. And they've gone up 887 points. So maybe they're just idle and haven't been logging what they've done and haven't adjusted their cohort. But they need like 6 graduations here to find themselves in the right place. We won't dwell on that right now. We'll check out Ferguson 9112. Okay. Who says, I've just recently joined Chess Dojo and had a rating of 630. I'm now past 650, aiming for 700 in sort of a more overall lifelong quest to make 1,000. Having a to-do list helps me a lot as I can get gratification out of checking the boxes. Yep. I've had a hard time to find partners for longer games, so I've concentrated on the 15 plus 10 games while waiting to find partners. Yeah. The opening principles video helped me a lot. Yes. Instead of relying on partial openings I had tried to pick up. That's right. I now just attempt to play the best move while developing and looking for tactics. Hey, that's easy enough at this stage to do it that way. Yes. My main concern right now is how to approach the middle game. Yep. What to do during that portion of chess game, as I am now more and more comfortable with king and queen and rook and king endgames. Okay, so this player knows how to checkmate if they come out of the middle game winning. This program will be helpful on my quest to higher rating. Yep. So what to do in the middle game is coming up. Yeah. Reading all that makes me wonder if Ferguson might be ready for my YouTube video called What to Do, which is a 4-part series, but honestly, you can just watch the first one even, and it sort of gives a framework for thinking about strategy. It's conceived of for players who are already at 1,000 level, because players under 1,000, the games are just going to be decided by captures. But it's true that while you're sitting there waiting for a capture, you know, you might want to have something, you might want to have some thought of what you're doing or what you're up to. I can see that. The chess.com rapid rating has gone up 30 points. The next graduation is at 750, so it's still a ways away. Has done a tactics test. Very good. Very good, Ferguson. I mean, normally I would just recommend, you know, to do a checkmate test, do another tactics test, and keep looking for people to play slow games against. But I understand it's a little nerve-wracking or a little mind-bending to not know what you're doing during your games. No game uploaded. No game uploaded for me to look at and give you a better comment on. Maybe you didn't publish it yet. Maybe it's private or something. But are you capable of finding the what to do video on YouTube? Is it too late to give me a game to look at? No. Oh, Jake saw one of your games and said it was good. I'm loath to give you too many advanced things to do, Ferguson, especially something that's not on the task list. And it's good for you to be checking things off on the task list. If you're feeling a lot of angst about not knowing what you're doing in the middle game, you could watch that video or that whole series of videos. But it is really intended for 1000 level. So you could also, if you can manage it, you could also just keep grinding away at playing games and doing tactics. So yeah, that's an option. If you can find a game for me, send it to me and I will come back and look at your game. Right now I'm going to click on Chris. Who has 1 dojo point. The rating has gone up 11 points, crossing 850. When you join a cohort at 841 and the graduation's at 850, you've got a good chance of getting a graduation. Here's the thing we're going to do, Ferguson. One thing is I'm going to whisper to you, and you can send me a link via this whisper. You could also send me a link on Discord if you know how to find me there. Or you could upload it to your Chess Dojo profile, and I'll go back to your profile and find it there. So the preferred rating here, chess.com Rapid, instant graduation, 1-2 games, went up, hasn't done any tactics tests or puzzle rush, and no games to look at right here. Would love to, Foxtrox. Would love to. Oh, cool, Carl. Thank you. Very happy to hear that. As I go click on our friend Jimmy191, who has gained 100 points. That's a whopping number of points. The tactics rating in red, for those who don't know it, the tactics rating in red says, warning, tactics might be a relative weakness and something that you might want to try and check a couple tasks off in the tactics section of your training plan, right? So we all have a training plan like this. And if you scroll to it, right, you could go to games and analysis, tactics, middle games, end games, etc. So if your rating on tactics is in red, let's see, I go to ratings, for example. Is my tactics rating red? No, it's green, so I'm okay on tactics, right? But if it's red, I should go to this tactics thing and probably do a couple tactics tasks, right? So going back to our buddy, we've got a tactics rating that's red. They're making great progress, 100 rating points gained, but We see Puzzle Rush Survival 160, Puzzle Rush 5 minutes 600, and this is a player who right now has a normalized rating of 660 and is, moving up towards 700 to 800. They're going to need to do some tactics work along the way, it seems likely. Booby-dooby-dooby-dooby-doo. So that was Jimmy. Now, Jeff tells us this one was a little bit harder than I anticipated. This is Jeff's third graduation, if I'm reading this thing correctly. Maybe because of overconfidence about graduating fast the previous 2 cohorts. Yeah. Currently, I mostly am doing puzzles at chesspuzzle.net. I recommend this because it's progressive learning and you only unlock certain skills if you complete previous skills. You can't access the 2 bishop and king endgame if you didn't master Bowden's mate and the 2 bishops mate first. Okay. I mean, that sounds like endgame algorithms versus tactic puzzles, like I thought. Cool. Got it, Ferguson. Thank you. I follow the cohort recommendations for sure because they actually help, but maybe it's my ADHD. I feel like I need more in terms of theory. I'm desperate. Books and recommendations are awesome, not going to lie, but I will like to have some sort of granular checklist of all the skills I need to learn. For example, in order to graduate, you need to know fork skewers, open lines for forks, and discovered attacks. Yeah. That stuff is all baked into your task list, even if we don't give you a checklist of all the skills that we think you've learned. The task list does include all the skills. Like for your cohort, there will be a couple endgame algorithms. Those are the ones that you need to master. But okay, you're saying having that full list of what the skills are would make things more clear and systematic for some people. Okay, and you've done a tactics test, so good on you. And the tactics test didn't give you the feedback you wanted, which is bad on us, but good to get the feedback on that. In general, Foxtrox, you should just be able to reopen that test and keep taking it. The tests save your progress and time used. I don't think you need to do anything to reset it. You just need to reopen the test you were on. And if you spent, let's say, 5 minutes on the first problem and you had an hour for 10 problems or something like that, when you reopen it, it'll have the answer you put on the first problem. You'll have 55 minutes and you'll just be able to keep doing the second problem. It's giving you a failure. Oh. All right. I will talk to Jack about it. Thank you for that. Says that it's finalized. Okay. So maybe you didn't just close it. Maybe you clicked like, I am done with this test, right? Maybe you clicked a thing like finish early or something like that and not just navigate it away or close the window. At first, I thought you meant you'd close the window. Okay, continuing to read Jeff's comments about this test, right? So, we need to know the purpose of the exercise. Is it to deliver mate? Gotcha. Okay, what test did they do? A tactics test or a checkmate test? The tactics test. Okay, so in the tactics test, it's a mix of tactics and mates and things like that. Yeah. So it doesn't tell you what you have to find, and that's by design. So I understand that that's frustrating to you, but I can tell you on that part, we're not going to change it. I think we can follow your feedback about giving better feedback on the answers you put in, But by design, we don't want to tell you the point of a test. Is it checkmate? Is it capturing a piece? Or is there no solution at all? Because I've found that in a lot of tactics out there that people do, well, I don't know if we want to get into a long product discussion repeatedly, but okay, we started it. A lot of tactics out there, people just sort of guess the most tactical looking move, right? They're in a chapter about checkmates, or they're in a chapter about skewers, or they're doing puzzle rush and they're just putting a piece in the face of the other person and hoping it's the right move. I really like to make it more like a game situation where you don't know whether or not you have a tactic and you don't know what kind of a tactic you have. So the tests I design always have at least one position where there's no answer, sometimes multiple positions where there's no answer, so that you can't just guess moves that look tactical. That said, I do agree that you should get good feedback on what you get wrong, for sure, to make it a better experience so you can learn from it. But overall, the tactics tests are a difficult and slightly unpleasant thing to do for most people, I think. And the point of them is to get an assessment. It's to get that little tactics rating that tells you if you should keep working on your tactics or if you should move on to your end games or something like that. And that's such a useful information to have that I hope long term we can figure out how to make these tests palatable, because they're going to be so useful. And the only way to make them useful like that, by the way, is to have them be hard, and to have a lot of the problems be problems that you fail, and for us not to spoon feed you what the answer is. Because if we let you know this is a maiden one, this is a capture the hanging piece and stuff like that, then you're going to get lots of questions right, and then we've got no way to tell you where you stand tactically. The only way we can tell you where you stand tactically is by giving you a test hard enough that you're getting a bunch of problems wrong. So it's different from other chess puzzles, for sure. And by design. So, all right, finally, I love the dojo and hope to meet tons of fellow dojoers in person, or play a game together at least, till the next graduation. Absolutely, we'll see you at the next graduation, Jeff. Now let's have a look here. There is, Carl. We already have some endgame tests up, and we have one or two positional tests made. But we've been working on them in the background, talking about how we want to. Anyway, there's some updates to the product coming, but yeah, you can find a couple endgame tests online. It's to tell you where to direct your work, Valkyrie. Where to direct the work. All right, this player has 5 badges, and they've gone up 365 points. So definitely moving up well. A little bit of negative self-talk here. You know, humorous. The more I study chess, the worse I play. That kind of self-deprecating humor. It's cool, it's fun and all, but very often it's deployed by people with low confidence. Every time I see that, for me, it's like a flag as I'm trying to figure out someone's profile, right? And then you see, I'm decent at solving puzzles, I suck at playing an actual game, right? Again, it's funny, but it's negative towards the self. So there's a chance that this player is a bit hard on themselves, right? You guys getting used to profiling other people too? Something weird happened here where they lost like 800 points in a day and regained it the next day. That doesn't make sense. Maybe closed the account and reopened it. Next graduation's 100 points away, so it's going to be a bit. Tactics rating 700. And we are in the 700 to 800 cohort. So it's these numbers here, 700, 750, 650, they're just kind of like average, right where they needed to be to get into this cohort. And you see they're in yellow, not green or red. Green would be like green light, you've done this, go work on other things. Red would be like, oh, you need to improve your tactics. And yellow is, well, you could do tactics or you could do something else, right? So at some point along the way here, to get to the next cohort, we would assume there's going to be a normal amount of tactics work to be done. That makes sense. Let's see if they upload games. Jeff does upload games. Here's one from September 2024. So I will bring that game up. D4, knight f6, c4, g6. Comments on all the moves. Bishop d3, c5. I attack the center. Yep. Does make sense. Yep, you're right. d5 does make sense exactly as you say. Since my opponent has a space advantage, I couldn't move my knight to c6, so I developed where I could. Sadly, yeah, you don't have space for all of them, right? So at some point you learn strategies like, man, I need to find some space, right? Let me just give you a suggestion, Jeff, actually, while we're here. Maybe bishop g4, so you could offload the piece and then bring this piece out and not trap that piece. That could be one idea here. Oh, wait, I think that Jeff actually put that in as a variation, folks. You don't even need my advice, Jeff. Good work. That's why it's so useful to analyze one's games, folks. Obviously, when Jeff played this game, Jeff was not, let's say, at a level to play bishop g4. They were just like, oh, sad, my knight. Okay, I'll go here. Oh, shoot, my bishop. And while reviewing the game, Jeff came up with this idea. Beautiful. Opponent continues with good development practices. Yeah. Ah, that's why you were defending the c-pawn. Yeah. So Jeff was feeling cramped up, and to make space for the bishop was planning to play knight e5 and trade a knight, and saw that then the pawn on c5 would hang. Very clear explanation of your thought process. I get it. So b6 to support the pawn to set up knight e5. Very good. If I'm supposed to capture or not. I decided. Very nice. Counterplay at the center is correct, I think. I mean, it's what I would have done at least. Oh, the other thing you could do that could be cool is moving this knight to d6. That's a secret chess principle. The knight is very good right in front of their pawn. In this like super blocked situation, you put the knight here. Nobody can attack it because there's a bunch of pawns in front of it, so the other pieces can't attack it, but it attacks white's pawns over, you know, kind of like artillery from a protected spot. So that's a nice second idea. E6 is a good idea as well, what you played for sure. Miscalculation. Should have traded bishops. Oh, attacking the two pieces. Fancy! Yep. Yeah, you made a double attack, so you think you're going to regain your piece, but one of their pieces can move with a trade or capture or threat or something. You have to deal with it. The other piece escapes, and you're down a piece. Yeah. Not going to quit. Make it harder for them. Wow. Fighter. It's kind of odd since it allowed me to check. Yeah, but they'd be happy to trade queens, right? At this moment, I saw a chance, and I took it. I'm going to trade queens with him. See, this is more opportunity. It's going to be on my terms. So I decided to take the pawn. Yeah. I guess since I don't want to trade queens, if I'm black here, I would have taken the pawn immediately. The queen trades tend to help the person with more material, but white's material advantage is not so big. You've got fair chances. Ooh! Left an unprotected pawn, which I took without a thought. I feel like you thought about it a little bit. You seem like a thoughtful guy, Jeff. But I understand you're saying like you were glad to take it and you took it. When I saw this move, I smiled. I foresaw the plan, but you forgot about me. Oh my goodness. We're witnessing a comeback, folks. Tried to create some counterplay, but I was going to capture the knight. Yeah. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. I got a knight, a pawn, a discovered check. I love discovered checks. We all do, Jeff. If we're honest, we all love discovered checking while capturing our opponent's pieces. Oh, chess can be fun. Grabovich, eat everything on the second rank. Hungry rooks. Uh-oh. Now the rooks are disorganized. You were confident you were going to pull a win. Nice. Good on you. Oh! Almost had the opponent in mating net. Yeah. You could try rook b3. And the only defense would be rook d3. Yeah. And here we got lucky that the opponent didn't take the pawn on f4, right? So, do you know what the winning method would have been instead of f4, Jeff? You've done such a great job on this game and the annotations. So, if I could just find one thing to give you some advice on. When you see a move that you think is bad in your analysis, when you come back, you should suggest the move you should have played instead, right? And that move is king g4, continuing the plan you started the last move with king h5, right? This move here starts to take more space away from their king. It starts to attack the g-pawn along with your rook. And you've got two strong ideas from here. Rook b2, backing them up, or rook takes g3. And that's going to be a clear path to winning. If you capture another pawn here, it's going to clear the way for these two to advance, which you advanced it just a moment too soon instead of attacking the pawn that was a bit weak. Okay, thankfully your opponent didn't take on f4. You got your king into position now. Over here I calculated I was going to give a check. King is forced to go to the first rank. Yep. Check. Yep. Yep. Over here I didn't calculate the f3 check. I think that would have been better. That's correct. It would have been even better. But the reason you didn't calculate it is because you saw a way to win, right? And if you see a way to win, then you don't need to find the third way to win. But in analysis, you noticed it. Good on you. Very alert. Very alert comments on the game. Nicely done. All right. We're going to go back and check out a game from Ferguson, whose game we didn't have up before. I might have to switch my view a tiny bit. All right. I recognize the icon. All right, a Caro Kann queen trade. We go straight into an endgame. Ah, the joys. Oh, that f2 pawn is looking weak. Oh, it's in Dojo also? Should we try and stick with a Dojo view? Jeff was really good. To me, I didn't see that negative talk I saw in those like jokes at the beginning. I didn't see it in the comments on the game really. So, that was a good sign. So we're going to click back on Ferguson, games, and it's not appearing yet, Ferguson. Sorry. So I'm going over here. This attack against f2 is very strong. Normally, we want to develop all our pieces before we start attacks, so to speak, right? But if you're also looking at tactics, and if the move works, it works. So it worked, and you did it. You got a pawn. You got an exchange of rook for knight out of it too. Beautiful. Get castled. Continuing to develop. Now you're going to win more material. Wow. By the way, just for simplicity's sake here, I would have probably made this trade if it's offered to you. And honestly, I don't even know if I would chase the trade because white has e5 as an option. I think here, the move before you did it, I might have done this b5 expansion to make more space for these two pieces. Yeah, I kind of like the expansion here. So that now we know we've got a square for the bishop. If we bring the knight here to cover these squares, the bishop's going to be able to come here. Basically, I hope it was clear to you that your task here is to improve those 3 pieces. That's the next thing you need to do, right? That's correct, Timo. There's a better defense for white earlier on here. They need to play bishop g3, and when black takes, trade their bishop off, right? Then white would only have lost a pawn, so it would have been less painful than what happened in the game, right? Where even moving the king out of the way of the fork, white still got the rook and bishop forked, right? And still lost some more material. Okay. So now black got a trade and another trade. Good. And development. And lots of trading. Rook on the second rank. All the rooks come out. Oh, this is a pretty good game for you. As long as you don't let white queen that pawn. Are you at all worried? Let's see. Check. Takes. No worries. Why did I even worry for a second? Because I've seen people with like 2 extra rooks roaming the board and their opponent just walks 1 pawn down the board and queens. It has happened. It has happened. But not to Ferguson. Oh, collecting everything that is given. Well, Ferguson, fortunately / unfortunately, you played this game well enough that I'm not going to be able to offer pretty much anything in the way of advice. Unless you start hanging all your rooks. No, that was pretty good. You just went for it and queen to pawn directly, which is exactly the correct technique. As Merles points out, your opponent played the game in 1 minute. You spent 8 or 9 minutes on the game. So if your opponent wanted to beat you, they would have had to be about 8 times as good as you to beat you with 1 minute versus 8. And they were not 8 times as good as you. So no surprise that you took it, given that. Okay. It's a good game. I'm sorry I don't have more advice for you, Ferguson, but I think that's okay, you know. Sometimes these graduates, we can just say, like, darn, good work, right? We don't have to always have an improvement ready. Just keep doing what you're doing, Ferguson, right? And I think that when I looked at you overall, your tactics is green. Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, basically. Yeah, maybe next time you graduate, you'll have had to lose a couple games on the way. I would say, Timo, that Ferguson was right to go after that pawn because there was even the threat of winning the exchange. So you avoided losing the exchange for white, but to do that, you had to play bishop g3 and bishop takes f2. So while black was winning the pawn, white was moving that f4 bishop twice, right? Trading it off. So I think it's worth winning the pawn because white isn't getting ahead while you're winning the pawn. They're defending the fork and trading your piece. So overall, you're getting the pawn pretty much for free plus the bishop pair. If you were making 3 moves to go capture a pawn and your opponent could ignore you and bring out 3 pieces during that time, that's when I would have worries, right? Very good question, by the way. Hopefully the answer is as good as the question. No, I'm not where I need to be. I need the graduates. I'll just go back to the news feed. Do it manually since I can't seem to navigate the front and back buttons successfully. All right, so we had Jeff, and here we've got another person who's written a nice little essay for us that's going to be very useful. I joined the Chess Dojo because I like the sequence of chess training. I needed this. I have a large library of chess books, both old and new. I think I have all the books in the entire training program. I read a lot of them, but nothing really seemed to help. For most of the books that I have, I read possibly 2 chapters. And then went on to something else. Yeah, there's no progression of ideas, and it became more confusing than helpful. Tons of ideas, but yeah, not turned into how we actually play. There was no progression of ideas. I may have read about half of Nunn's books on middle games and end games. I became discouraged by Chessable. I chose courses / books that I thought addressed some of my problems. Boy, was I wrong. The materials presented were for a GM, not a potser. I didn't like the quizzes, which present problems without any context. Thus, I had no game plan and no idea what I was trying to do. It was really irksome. I could intuitively answer most questions, but it was not learning, but memorization. The best book of the lot, in my opinion, is The Soviet Chess Primer by Ilya Meiselas. I haven't read it, but Kostya says it's really good, I think, which I'm still reading and digesting. I picked it up at a chess tournament in June and read more than 80% of it. It seems to be the only book that has a reasonable progression of ideas. Still in my first few weeks, so far I think Polgar's book and Giannotto's book have been helpful. I initially questioned the blunder games, but have come to appreciate those games highlighting where I make blunders. Cool. Yeah, Viral Stigma. Might have heard the rap about having 1 million books. One of my big weaknesses is calculation. I attempted the endgame test and found that I just did not have good enough calculation skills. Yeah, Jesse made some endgame tests that are very calculation heavy. It is an area I need to work on. This was also highlighted with Meiselas. The test requirements are just at too high of a skill level for me to currently complete. But that's useful because it tells you where to work, right? So I know it's unpleasant to fail, but you need to fail to figure out where you need to be working, right? So the failure on the endgame test and knowing that it was a calculation issue is going to direct us towards where to go next. So 950 currently, just crossed 950, headed towards 1050 next. A USCF rating, but that they're not playing a lot of tournaments, I guess, so they're using their online rating as the preferred rating. Tactics rating, 5-minute fine, survival less fine. Okay. Well, it's just the 5-minute is out of this world. It's not that there's anything wrong with the 750. The 750 Puzzle Rush Survival is right on track. And Moscow in chat is saying it's a really important piece of advice to train tactics. I'll just say, Moscow, that promising that somebody will reach 2,000 in no time is probably an oversell. It almost sounds like you're the one trying to sell a tactics trainer to somebody, with that like get good quick scheme. There's very few things that are going to let people get very good very fast. Yeah. He's coming by in half an hour, and then we'll go to Anya.
Okay, cool. And I will probably just eat here.
Up to you. You can go.
Soup sounded good. Okay, yeah. I'm going to go to the gym then.
To the gym now?
We just weightlifts, yeah. Lift weights.
So we'll call you in half an hour and meet? Okay. Okay. So I fully agree with the training suggestion, like doing training tactics. For many levels, doing one Puzzle Rush Survival could be a very strong component of their training program. But 2,000 in no time, that's that makes it sound nicer than it is. Only thing you're selling is for other people to do stuff for free on a website that you have no financial interest in. I know. And I'm just joking around a little bit, but when you say something like that, it sounds like you got something to sell, when you're like, "Oh, get good fast. Get rich quick." Oh my gosh, look at this person's comments. Look, they start out with sort of an overview kind of comment about the game here. Move 38 was the critical point where he blundered his knight away. Takeaways. I never felt behind. Although the computer said I was in the endgame. My plans generally worked. There were times where my moves were not accurate. Okay. You reached 2,000 in under a year, Moscow? On Lee Chess or on FIDE? My intent was Jobava London. Let me just say one thing, Wilson. The point of the move knight c3, just looking at the board, is to support the push e4. And in that sense, you can already play e4. Well, Jobava London is no longer playable. In that case, let's go for a berry attack. Yeah, e4 is even stronger, perhaps, because you could capture this pawn soon, maybe? I don't know. Bishop g5. Oh, no, because after queen f5, e4. Yeah, good. 1,700 FIDE. That's glorious, Moscow. 1,700 FIDE in a year of working. I think you have a talent that other people don't have, so other people won't be able to repeat your results. 1,700 FIDE in a year. Yeah. No, I mean, it took me a couple of years, and I have a pretty solid chess talent. Ooh, things are going good for you. Now you've stopped thinking about setting up a Jobov or a Berry attack. You just bring out all your pieces into the center. Huh. Yeah, your opponent could have played Queen G2. The crazy thing about this position is look how many tempi of development you have to your opponent's one queen. 5 pieces. That means you can start looking for things like takes, checkmate. You can start having your eye on stuff like that, right? Just looking for ways to open things up and increase your advantage. Another example, something you could try to do is maybe you can trap the queen among all your minor pieces if the opponent doesn't give you a checkmate. So, yeah. No, but I mean, I understand the nervousness about queen takes g2. Even if you know, like, I've brought out all my pieces, this should be good. We all worry about what if my opponent grabs this pawn and I've got, like, a thing hanging and, your king feels the queen's breath, right? Kind of on his neck. So it's uncomfortable. You have to both calculate a little bit and have confidence. So we all feel like a little nervous when this kind of thing comes in. But you've played well, and you should win against this move. F6. Blech. I don't think it's his best move. Well, it's his first move that developed a piece all game. So we have to give DK some credit for bishop b4, even if it might not be the best. It's the best one yet. We do, Timo. We've got some repertoires, but they're only for players over 1,200 that we recommend learning a particular opening at all. Under 1,200, we say just watch one video on opening principles. And that's like 1,200, 2021 FIDE level. So on Lichess, it might be more. On chess.com, it might be 100 or 200 points higher than that, etc. So we've got a system that sort of converts ratings because there's so many different systems to tell people where they should be at. Given a check, I would love to just castle here. I don't think the check is going to crush black, so I would just get castled. We get a trade. Queen comes to a nice square. But what I would point out is that here you see black's queenside, and now look at what you've done. You brought the whole queenside out for them. Yeah. At 1,500 FIDE level, Gaurav, you don't necessarily need a full opening repertoire, but you can start, and you shouldn't focus on it. I'm giving you like a third of a yes to your question, if that's okay with you. At 1,500 FIDE, it's a great level to start learning a couple openings and having some ideas and some lines you like, some specific plans, like, oh, in this position, we can work towards building up an attack on the king side, or here we can strong point a knight on e4, and if they do this, we have this other defensive option. But you shouldn't yet focus on it because there's other things you need to be doing as well. And opening study is still going to be probably only 10-15% of your total hours worked, I would guess. Does that make sense? So your focus is still going to be playing games, analyzing your games, improving your tactics and calculation, etc. But yeah, you can, the way we have it set up, first you pick a defense against e4, and for like 100 points you work on your defense to e4, and then the next 100 points you work on your defense to d4 while doing other things at the same time, you see? So you pick one at a time to work on a bit while working on other facets of your game. Absolutely cross online. You should definitely do that. It's a good suggestion to yourself. Good suggestion to yourself. All right, black picks a pawn, and the game becomes very, very close. White had, by the way, a huge advantage before this bishop b5 move. Here, white's up a pawn, and black's development is poor. We can castle and then attack these two weak squares in the middle of the board while black's trying to bring out the pieces. When you castle, you'll be threatening knight b5 into c7 or d6. And if your opponent trades, then what that's going to allow you to do is to later come into a square like d6 with your bishop or queen and start making it a little bit harder for them to get castled and finish organizing their pieces. Either one, Timo. Either one. You can play any opening. We don't specifically think that that one of those moves is better than the other, right? E4 or D4 or C4. Okay, so now the game is looking very close to equal. I saw this coming. It helps me. Trading off the knight, trading off everything. It's a very, very equal position. I mean, there's little positional advantages here or there that are trading hands, but the material's equal. It's not dramatically better or worse for either side for most of this endgame. Very, very interesting fight. And somewhat rare at this level to get such close endgames. White's suffering a little bit from not centralizing the king here for a lot of moves. And white gave up the open file at some point. Yeah. The file is better than going away. Maybe here for a moment white had one really, really strong opportunity that I didn't notice at first as we were blitzing through this. That looks pretty strong. If black's pawns weren't hanging out on the 6th rank, then rook d7 would usually be your best move because it keeps your opponent from bringing the king to a good square like e6 or g6. You cut them off. And against rook d8, you would normally play a move like rook c7 to just keep that king trapped back like this. Oh, our king got forced back because now black's got us cut off with this file. But maybe you should play king b3. I mean, the king wants to get into the game if possible. Oh, you got back the file. And then the opponent blundered. Yeah, they had to find knight f7 or knight b7 as a maneuver to deal with this file and keep the endgame going pretty equal. After they do this, you're going to be comfortably ahead and your opponent lost on time. Well, that's nice that they used their time. Cool that you were both using your time this game. Nice game, Wilson. Nice game. You had a real tough game there with a tough opponent. You guys got to go all the way to the end, pretty much. Very good. Good comments on the game too. Good game, good analysis, good tactics. Just keep doing it like you're doing it, Wilson. That's my 0 cents for you, is just keep going with what you're doing. Oh, minus all the books. I think you figured out. I'm rereading your notes here. Minus the books thing, right? Just let those books go. Play, analyze, talk with other dojoers, do some calculation work. Okay. Now we've got Kevin Sheehan, who 98% of the time does Chess Club VR. I don't really even know what that is. The website has been asking me to click the graduate button for months, so I finally did, lol. Oh, that must be ours. Okay. Let's see where Kevin is. Rating 1280, next graduation 1250. Yeah, Kevin needs to graduate again, basically. That's where Kevin's at. I've never heard of this Chess Club OTB VR. VR ruined my 2D chess. Lichess Classical is also 150 points above where it should be for graduation. To me, a chess.com rating of 1280 means that you're over 1,000-ish, and you're in the 900 to 1,000 range. Yeah, so you should be graduating again pretty soon is my guess, Kevin, looking at your ratings here. Tactics in the green, 1,200. That also says you could go up to 1,000 to 1,100 to me. Let me play through one of your games and confirm what I think. Okay, this is a really cool Carl Khan miniature I played as black in June 24. Friday evening, hot, exhausting week at work. When I want to play chess, but I'm exhausted or mentally drained, I play on Lichess. Okay. Well, if you played perfectly this game, it's not going to tell me that you shouldn't graduate. You get ahead of piece instantly. Look at this. I noticed white blundered instantly, but I spent a little over 1 minute to double check. Right, because you're not going to need as much time later in the game if you're up a piece, right? So, yeah, let's put some time into the key moments here. Now we're back to playing normal Caro/French structure moves, collecting a pawn. Yeah, simplifying, crushing game for Kevin. Let's see another one. Very tough game for me to post. I played horribly and made many mistakes I don't normally make. That being said, I did and do make them, so there's clearly a breakdown of knowledge versus playing skill. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't post it, how would I have been able to give you feedback? So you made the right choice to post this game that you felt bad about. Embarrassing to post a game like this. I worry what people will think. Right, but that's all in your head. Exactly. No one cares how bad I play or how ridiculous some of the mistakes I make are. Everyone just wants to improve, and I have to remember that. In any case, I was proud of the way I fought back and won. Even if I had lost, I should still be happy that I didn't give up early on. Right on, Kevin. I just faced this move a few days ago and won the game in 7 moves. It's uploaded in this database. C5. Funny move. Naka played it in classical chess against Prague and others. Knight C3. Brutal mistake. I played the correct knight F3 a few days ago. Oh, shoot. Thank you, Carl. You're saving me. Boom. There we go. Now you guys can see his comments and everything. Sorry about that, and we can all thank Carl. Brutal mistake, dropping the pawn. Black is up a pawn for free, not an ideal start. Attacking black's pawns because I'm on tilt. What's wrong with this? You got your pawn back. A little bit negative here on yourself, Kevin. A little bit negativo. I mean, on tilt, this is a normal move. You move the knight and attack stuff. That's how you get back in the game. they have to put their knight on a mediocre square to stop knight c7. Everything's okay. I would also say in this position there's an alternative move, bishop e3, which might also be playable for white. You know, this pawn's attacked and knight b5 or d5 is coming. But it does block this. It's a matter of taste, but I don't think the game's over, you know. I wouldn't say black's up a pawn for free. Things are still okay. You know, it's a little bit more like you're black than white. That got scary. e5. You know what? I think here you needed to come back here because you keep this knight from getting active. I know it's going back to where you were, but they can't play a6 and they can't move the knight. So this move here makes a lot of sense. Ooh, now you are in trouble because the opponent's on the attack. So pissed off that I started to regain my composure. Okay, there's a version of pissed off where you lose your composure, and then there's more pissed off where you regain it. Definitely under pressure. That's a crazy sick move from the opponent. Props to your opponent. To Clive. What creativity. But I think you can take it, right? And you've calculated it, right? Over 1,000 is tomorrow, I think. Probably. Sorry, I'm not certain. Excellent analysis, Kevin. Crazy stuff going on. Intense. Good fighting back. Wild tactics. Good comments. Nice. Oh, there's the bell. All right. The summary here, Kevin, is you should press the graduation button again. I believe in you for the 1,000 to 1,100 cohort. I believe in you, Kevin. I believe in you. You belong in the 1,000 to 1,100 cohort. Your rating's good enough. Your games are good enough. Your analysis is good enough. And God dang it, you're good enough. So, let's move you up. Let's move you up. I'm going to take a little break here, folks, because my lunch appointment is here. And we will finish oh my God, there's a typo. I was just trying to get the show started as fast as I could. That's horrible. That's ridiculous. We will continue the under 1,000 graduates this afternoon after lunch. Okay. Great job to everybody so far that we've looked at. It's been really inspiring. Oh my goodness, everybody. Great work. In that game, by the way, Kevin got upset because of Queen d4 and played below his level for 3 or 4 moves afterwards under the influence of being upset about knight c3, queen takes d4, and missing the move. But played great and managed to make a wild, messy ruckus out of it afterwards. So really, there is something to learn there, Kevin, which is don't get upset so much when something goes wrong. But overall, whew, super good. We are going to get back into celebrating our graduates here. All right. So we saw Jeff, we saw Wilson, we saw Kevin Sheehan, and now we are on to the major with their first graduation. All right. The major writes, let me check my screen capture if you can see what the major writes. Not exactly. I will read it for you. First graduation. Joined in May. Played my first OTB in June. Took a month off in July, August, and now back at it. This experience has been an exercise in humility. I won my first classical game on Lichess and then lost 9 games in a row. Between the Dojo Open Classical and the first OTB tournament. Ooh, so I could imagine going into the OTB tournament with low confidence on a 9-game losing streak, right? I got my first win in the last round of the Swiss in the OTB tournament. Had to persist, right? So you have a score of something like 0-3, 0-4, and there's a tradition where people withdraw if they're not winning their games. If they're losing games, they withdraw instead of playing out the tournament. I'm always a fan of whoever's got the worst possible score and is still playing in the last round, you know? Anybody who loses 4 or 5 games and still keeps playing, yeah. Whew. Maybe one day I'll be able to go for that. From there, I've been improving, going 3 out of 5 since the tournament, including 2 wins against players in the 12 to 1300 cohort, which is a couple cohorts up, and draws against similarly highly rated players. Ironically, my only loss was to someone around my rating. Okay. Before, I mostly had time to play and analyze games, and I was still playing a fair amount of rapid games. Now I'm skipping rapid and limiting myself to 1 classical game a week and focusing the rest of the time on Polgar, middle game, and endgame. Polgar in particular has helped for a lot more than just checkmates. I think my calculation and vision are faster and better, so I spend less energy in classical games trying to find the right move, which in turn makes me less likely to get low on time and or blunder. My wins against the higher rated players have shown that I am still getting worse positions than them, but they haven't been able to convert those positions and have instead blundered. And I've been able to punish their mistakes. I've been pretty good at not dropping pieces, but moving forward, I want to make sure to consider piece quality and tempo as well. Yeah, you'll get to that, but the not dropping pieces is huge. I mean, that's a ticket to the medium leagues at least, if you're not dropping pieces. Yeah. Let me grab something real quick for somebody here. Chirag, we've already done it. There you go. There's a link. That was Jesse and I a couple hours ago, looking it over. All right, let's check out the majors profile and see what they're up to. Their preferred rating is Lichess, in which they're 930, so well within the 900 to 1000 cohort. The next graduation is at 1665, so it's not so far away. They're part of the way there already. Let's see. The rating had a bit of a dip there, came back up, and has really risen this past week, past 10 days. Chess.com rapid change 0, so not being used much. A USCF rating earned, but from not many tournaments. Tactics rating at 925. Yellow means it's kind of in the middle. It's neither really strong nor really weak. So its tactics are something that you could work on, but you don't have to prioritize it over other things. You can do some of it. So that's all fine so far. We see the heat map as well, working in May, June, and into July, taking a break halfway through July into halfway through August, and then picking it back up. Activity, time breakdown, points breakdown. Over here, we've got the points. Over here, the time. 72 points in 73 hours, so about 1 point per hour. Games and analysis, the bulk of it, great. And then a bit of mixed things, tactics, middle game, end game, opening. Perfect, keeping that opening small. And we see that more time was spent on tactics, it just didn't gain as many points. And then here we've got middle game and strategy and end games. And even the non-dojo has been logged. Excellent, great work. 74 hours of work in 2.5 months. Let's say just over 2 months. It's about 10 hours a week. It's a good amount. Pretty good. Yeah, they're probably right around 8 or so hours a week. Good, steady work. Let's see if there are some games here to regale us. A draw. That sounds like it'll be competitive. This is, I think, from online. The major is white. Feeling... Oh, and I'm going to switch the view. Feeling proud of this game. Managed to get a draw against a much higher rated player. There were moments where black was slightly better and they could have pushed more. But we traded off queens, and then it was a rook endgame that seemed hard. Excuse me? For black to make progress on, even when they were up a pawn. No major errors on either side. Nice. Having flashbacks to when I played against this setup in the first round of the Philly Open. Remembering the dark squared bishop becomes super strong and can have an attack on my b pawn and a1 rook. Yep, absolutely right. Flashbacks are useful in chess, right? That's your experience informing your future play. Okay, rather than playing knight c3, we play c3 and block this diagonal, or potentially try to play d4. Yep. Okay, quickly d4. Yeah, so here black's going to have a very good answer, which will be takes, bishop g4. Your opponent knew it. And there's pretty good pressure here against d4 with the bishop. We've sent a move as white on d3 and then d4. So black's ready. I wanted to play knight d2 to defend this, but then my d4 pawn would be lost, so I decided to push the d pawn first, and we've got the analysis of the move that you wanted to play and how you lose the pawn. Yep. Alternative. Trying to track that bishop down. Yeah. Okay, so white picked a good moment to sort of think about, hey, like, how is this opening working out for me? What am I supposed to do? I'm not totally happy about what I did. Yeah, good place to stop and wonder what the options were. Black trades all these pieces off and takes the file. Black is more developed than I am, but I have some good piece coordination. It's true, black's rook is on an open file. White's is sort of developed. It's defending the e-pawn. But black's got both minor pieces out. Queen c7, knight c3. Oh, excuse me. Shutting down the c file. Yep. Yeppers. Was surprised by this move. Was my opponent just trying to draw the game? Maybe your opponent likes endgames. Maybe they're trying to win the game. Yes, good point about queen c4 helps them get the second rook going. So you're correct to just ignore. This b3 move's probably going to hurt you, because it weakens, you were trying to block their file. Probably better off putting this rook on the open file. there's a Tico. Oh, it didn't take long for my prediction to come true. Oh, look at that rook on e7. Black is slightly better because they have good coordination with their rooks, but they've also traded off their strong dark-squared bishop. It seems hard for black to get an advantage here. I assume they will try to go for the d5 pawn, and I will try to go for the b7 pawn. Wow. That's impressive. So maybe this wasn't even the right move, this knight e4. Rook takes, gets it back. Dang! So knight e4 was not that impressive. No wonder the major doesn't say something like, oh, I blundered this move. It was all under control. Retreating. My inclination would be to bring out the other rook supporting this one. Retreats, attacks, defends, here. Oh, the king is keeping white's rook out. Okay, I thought rook takes would be a little stronger. Yeah. White's definitely still working to try to save this. Probably can still save it with rook c6 or rook d7. But this might be a little bit easier. And it ends in a draw since black realizes this pawn's going to go, equalizing. It's quite a solid game. I know about that, Michael. Yeah, thanks. I looked at some other people's time graphs earlier today on the show. This one I can tell you that white used a good amount of time on this game. Black played a little bit faster. They're playing very, very well, yeah. Yeah, somebody told me I was supposed to mark them as reviewed. And I've done that before with games where somebody had requested a review, but I forgot to do it in the first half of the show earlier today. Thanks for reminding me on that. Am I sure these people are under 1,000, Moscow? I don't know. Some of them are really good. I mean, the last one I looked at Kevin, I had to tell him to just graduate again next week. That was my advice to Kevin, was just to press the graduation button again. Yeah, the major played a very, very solid game there as well. And I had a suspicion it was going to be crazy good from the description all the way before the first move, right? First of all, that it's a draw. Draws are rarer at this level, or traditionally, you know, people would be hanging checkmates and queens, so somebody would win. And then also, you know, that it was a rook endgame, that it seemed like black couldn't make progress even though up a pawn, is all the kind of stuff you expect to hear from a 2,000 player, not a 1,000 player. Yeah. So. Yep. Yeah. The Major was rightly proud of that one. Good work, Major. Right, that's true also what Carl says. I mean, we can have a good game and then a bad game as well from the same player. That does happen. Okay. Next up, we have King Gambit with already 3 graduations under their belt. 32-year-old dentist with kids who are interested in chess. Aww. Lifts weights. Reads nonfiction, history, philosophy, and economics. And likes to be outside. Nice. That all sounds good. That all sounds good to me. All right, let's see where they're at. Rating change up 40. Next graduation 1730. Normalized. It's at 780. Wait, why are they graduated if the Lee chess is so low and it's the preferred rating? Chess.com Rapid 1350. Killing it in life, right, Michael? Yeah. This all sounds good, doesn't it? And, you know, if they have a 6-year-old kid and they're 32, they were 26 when they had their first kid. I think that's good. I wish I had had my first... I wish I'd had my first kids. I wish I'd had my kids a little bit younger. Just the body's a little creaky. You know, and my parents would have been a bit younger, had more time to grandparent and stuff. But that's just my personal taste. I think it's probably nice that they had their kids a little bit younger than me. But yeah, everything they're doing sounds good. Well, I don't understand why it says that they're graduated, though, because it looks like the ratings are below the ratings here. Yeah, that just makes it extra hard to take on, Michael, because the first couple... I'm not trying to discourage you, you know, it's just everything's got its pluses and minuses, right? But the first couple years, it's quite physical, you know, you're carrying them all the time and lifting them and their stuff and, you know, what is it called? Rocking them at night, that kind of stuff. And, yeah, that's all stuff that would have been a lot easier to do in my 20s, I think, than in my 30s, and then even creeping into my 40s. Okay. Tactics rating is in the red. It is 478. It's great they've done all this stuff. They've done all these things. But doesn't add up to graduation. All these ratings say they should be in a lower cohort at the moment. Here are some games. Let's have a look. Didn't annotate much for black because they were completely lost as soon as they lost the queen. Only note I'd make is that they should have avoided trading pieces. Oh, let me switch the view. Oh no, it's already there. Game was played quite quickly by both sides. Yep. Thanks, Michael. Bishop b3. Rook d8. Oh! Crazy attack of lots of things on lots of things. 15 seconds from black. They could calmly retreat their queen without losing material. Exactly. No, Moscow. I'm just picking games out of their collection of what they've uploaded. In many cases, the most recently posted game. Yeah. Tradovich. I'd recommend playing classical games online, Gaurav. Yeah. Play them online. A lot of people in the dojo do that. Yeah. It's possible, Carl, that some people, might upload to the dojo their better games instead of their worst games, but we saw a nice game today where somebody posted a game that they said they were embarrassed to post and they really hesitated and struggled over posting it. And then they posted it, and it was really a useful one to see. I think it was Kevin's game. This game here, we can't say too much for white because they won a queen so early on in the game. I mean, the moves afterwards were very clean and accurate, so it looked well in control. And I mean, we could say, hey, you only spent 6 minutes on this game, use your time, but when you're up a queen, I mean, there's only so much to agonize over, so I think it's kind of pointless to say that to them either, right? So let's just pick a second game from King Gambit. Smeargle the Goat has not lost a game in a long time. All right, here's one. All right. D5. Super weird. It's like a delayed Scandi. I felt like the easiest was to play D3, but I don't like passive moves. Nice. An analysis of the other critical move. Nice. So I mean, you wanted to play D3, and you just said, these are the moves I should be playing, and so you looked at them. One of them you played, the other you analyzed afterwards. Good work. Didn't like this, but you knew not to just run with the knight. This move is good for white. Knight D4, good. Yeah. This is good. This line is good. You can, you can get an advantage for white with this variation if you play it next time, just like that. So nice work right there analyzing that. So knight e5, d4. Bishop c4 might be easier than d3. Yeah, I don't know. Good analysis. Good choice of what moves you're looking at. Yeah. There aren't tons of people in the program right now. Chess Revolution rated over 2,000 FIDE. Not tons, but there are some. Up to 2,100, there's a decent cohort. And then once you're past 2,100 FIDE, then you kind of have to, then you've got a smaller group of people to train with, so you really have to, contact Kostya or me or Jesse or somebody to train with you, etc. You work for a U.S. company. Yeah. A good time for you to play Gaurav might be Friday Night Fights, which is Saturday morning in India at, I think, 8:30 a.m. typically. And that is classical chess, and I comment it live, and it's dojo people playing. But if you stick to American time zones on your weekends, I don't know. Maybe that time being like a normal Indian time isn't good for you. Cooking for the family. Good sweat work, Hockey Chess Dude. Good sweat work. Knight b5, giving themselves a question mark here, saying it would have been better to just put a rook on the d file. Are both players overlooking bishop h2 check, king h2, queen takes d2, winning one pawn? It seems like it. Yeah. Yeah, I think King Gambit didn't spell it out in the comments, but I think the reason knight b5 got a question mark and all is that white and black should be noticing this bishop h2 check. There's a hidden attack going through here, and black could win a pawn with that tactic. Okay, so e5 pins their knight. Right. Yeah. Here. Trade is fine. a5, yeah. So a6 is a huge threat this way. White could also probably have won a pawn with this kind of simple move, but it's not. It doesn't look as impressive as a5, honestly. We'll see how a5 pans out. b4 double question mark hangs my rook. The simple move for Mr. Pimple would be like rook takes a5. Let's see. Yep, it got analyzed. Rook e5. I was worried that here the king would fork my rook and knight. But now I see that the dark squared bishop's covering b6. Gotcha. Knight takes a7. I missed this pawn, was twice attacked. Oh, that move's killer. So you forgot. Basically, we can see that Smeargold here didn't see their own e3 bishop. They didn't see they could take a7, didn't see b6 was covered, so they just forgot this piece. Happens, but noteworthy for what they maybe need to be working on. Black plays knight d5 instead of taking the rook. My rook is still hanging. My rook is still hanging. Simplest move around here would be c4, going after the knight that's on this diagonal, I think. Also, a pretty powerful move would be to put a rook on b1, maybe the rook that's attacked by a bishop. c4. My rook is still hanging. I was hoping I could win back some material. Oh! That's rough. So I guess rook a1 should have been preferred, recapturing and leaving this knight in bad shape here. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Now this ending is difficult. I calculated up to here, missed this, yeah. Okay. Well, good solid analysis on your game, Smeargle. You're doing very good work on your game analysis, and we can see that you spent more time than your opponent on this game, so that's good. You spent a bit more than half of your time on the game. So definitely definitely, used more time on this game that was more competitive. That's great. The opponent obviously played too fast, but was a very strong player. I see some tactical weakness in this game, and but I can see this King Gambit does good work. I can see that they've put in a good chunk of hours. They've got a bunch of badges. A lot of tactics and games. Yeah, it's good. Lots of good work they've done, but it seems like the ratings aren't there for this cohort here. That's my concern. This Lichess rating says you should be in the 700 to 800 cohort, not the 1000 to 1100, and I think that's reasonable from what I've seen in these games just now. But you've done so much work. And then the Lichess ratings got adjusted for which cohorts they should be in. Well, you don't need to see the full screen, Datavia. I've got it showing what I think I mainly need it to show. I'm just reflecting on what I would suggest to King Gambit. I think overall, looking at the strengths and weaknesses, this tactics thing is in red here. This rating is lower than your Lichess and chess.com ratings, for example. It's good you've done the 3 checkmate tests and the 3 tactics tests. But also that last game we just looked at, there were definitely some tactical weaknesses in it, like playing bishop takes d5 check, walking into the pawn to c6 move. It looks like you hadn't looked thoroughly at all your opponent's moves on that exact move. Let me look specifically what they have or haven't done in the tactics part of their tasks here. Working through Polgar Maiden 2s. Working on the Puzzle Rush scores. Close on the 5-minute. Read winning chess tactics. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like there's room to do some more tactics, basically. Any of these tactics. Tactics is green, 78 points. That's a lot of points, but there are still a lot of tactics to do. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and I don't know if I marked that game as reviewed. Smeargle. That's this one here. All right, mark it as reviewed. And let's go to another graduate. I was waiting to have actually reviewed it, Michael, but then I almost forgot because I didn't want to mark it as reviewed while I was still reviewing it. I wanted to have reviewed it. That's kind of an argument for doing things while you're thinking of it. All right, let's check out Deshaun. All right, so Deshaun here, 1280chess.com, has gone up 230 points already. Gives a normalized rating of 1,000, which is good for the 1,000 to 1,100. Yeah, Moscow. Maybe they're doing the equivalent of, what is it called when you buy up URLs? And then later you sell them to somebody else. It's kind of like a squatting, right? Like domain squatting or something. Maybe King Gambit was waiting for a diehard King's Gambiteer to pay them for that username. Okay, adult learner, father of 3, like me, started playing chess during the pandemic. Quite original. The better I get, the more I can teach my kids, which is one of my favorite things to do. Big ol' heart. Doesn't play much on lead chess. Tactics rating has very high scores on Puzzle Rush. Holy camoli. So tactics is not likely to be this person's area they need to work on. It's going to be something else. Let's see what their activity's like. Tactics. They haven't logged a lot. But what they have logged, it was a lot of tactics. So, completed Puzzle Survival. Yep. Completed Puzzle Rush. Yep. See if they've got any games up here to look at. No games to look at. Michael, what would Jesse do when graduating somebody with no games to look at? Does he just say, like, upload a game, good job, and then move on to somebody else who has uploaded a game? I've watched him do this show a lot of times. I'm just afraid that I might be forgetting something I'm supposed to say. But that makes sense to me, to say, hey, upload a game, boss. Upload a game. Let's see what we're working with here. Show me what you're working with. Load a game, but analyze it. Load a game. Show us what you're working with. All right, Deshaun. I hope to see some games of yours in the future. For some people, it's very difficult, Gaurav, to switch between online and OTB or OTB and online. And for other people, it doesn't pose as much of a problem. But if for you it's a big problem, then you should try to occasionally do some of your training on a real board. You know, set up a puzzle on a chessboard and just have it sitting around so you look at your chessboard occasionally. All right. Let's go next. Oh, Pony Labyrinth. Ha! I looked at a game of Pony Labyrinth yesterday on the Postmortem show. Coincidence. There wasn't a comment here, right, to read? Pony Labyrinth, no particular comment. Let's check them out. Current rating 1250, normalized 1,000, cohort 1,000 to 1,100. So just made it, the full 100 points to go. Gained 43 points. Nice. Tactics rating in the 1,000 to 1,100 range. Yellow, not good, not bad, right where it should be. And that means there's going to be a normal amount of work to do on tactics to go up another 100 points, which is, you know, a fair amount. For games, Red Robot Army. We looked at this game yesterday, so I'm going to mark it as reviewed. Although the timestamp's going to be wrong because I looked at this game yesterday. Should we look at a second game of Pony Labyrinths? I think we should. Before we get into that, though, actually, sorry. Let's look at some more of... I've already seen a game of theirs. Let me look at some more of what they've done. Like, what's their activity like? A lot of tactics, some game and analysis time, but more points off of the tactics. 12 points per 12 hours. That's reasonable, normal. Medium amount of non-dojo, not too much, not too little. A little bit of opening work, but not too much. That's okay. Middle games and strategy, tactics and games. Yeah, looks fine. They're reading logical chess move by move. Looks like they're just getting started on it, which seems good. Yep. All right, let's see a game. I think Jesse is the only grandmaster who does the ChessDojo Training Program, Chess Revolution, as far as I know. Oh, somebody from here who wasn't a GM who became a GM. No. Pony Labyrinth playing black here. Yeah, I think we've had a couple players who have gone from like 2,000 or so to 2,300. Actually, I think I saw in the program. Not sure what my opponent was going for here. Sure you are, Pony Labyrinth. They were going for your bishop, dog. And your bishop got away. So, it didn't work out. Oh! Baiting you to push the d-pawn. It seems like it might survive, but too complicated to calculate. Ah, right. They're pseudo-blundering into the pawn fork to then take here, huh? Oh! Thanks for the raid, St. Louis Chess Club. And for anybody who was with me before we raided the St. Louis Chess Club, welcome back. I had a nice little lunch break, and now we're back to reviewing the graduations from this week's training program. For anybody who doesn't know, here at the dojo, we devised a universal chess training program. It started as just a question, is it possible to make a universal training program? And then, that was a discussion topic on our talk show, Dojo Talks. Then we couldn't decide for sure if it was or wasn't, so we tried to test it by actually trying to do it. And we made a training program. And now what we call a graduation is when somebody moves up from one training plan to the next, because we made a different training plan for every 100 rating points. So if you're between 700 and 800, you're working on the 700 to 800 training program. And when your rating crosses 800, boom, you click a little button that says graduate, and you get moved up to the 800 to 900 cohort. And as you do that, we gather to celebrate and say yay, yay for, in this case, Pony Labyrinth. And we've got something like 30 to 40 people graduating every single week, I think, moving up 100 points. So the universal training program might not 100% work universally for every single person, but it's working for a lot of these people. That's what the graduations mean. And in general, yeah, those who do the work do improve, with the footnote that, the higher you get, the slower it can be, right? No, Moscow. On Twitch, there's a thing called a raid. So when I finished my stream earlier today, or interrupted my stream earlier today, I sent our viewers to go watch St. Louis Chess Club, and now they just sent their viewers back when they finished their stream. Yeah. So d4, I also probably wouldn't risk this to try to win the knight. At least I'm giving up one pawn, uncastling my king, and probably a second pawn over here. I don't want to win a piece that badly. No, I think you played a nice move. The other move I like, though, is castles, so you could still threaten d4 while defending f7 with your rook. I don't know if that was on your... Well, let me check your analysis. Knight d4, I like this move, and you calculate d4 a little bit. Messy. Okay. So, castles was not on your radar. I would say it looks like an interesting option as well. Oh, yeah, covering c2. The ignominious retreat. h6. Knight ce4, and you can trade and then take. Ay. They fell apart here with this knight e4 move, huh? But part of them falling apart, Pony Labyrinth, which maybe you didn't notice, is just how much pressure you put on them. What are they supposed to do with themselves? If they go here, you take, boom. Okay. If they retreat here, you take. They can't recapture, but boom, right? So they could just let you take the knight for free. So the knight can't get away anywhere safely. They basically have to sack a piece. So actually the double question mark here is a little bit harsh, because your opponent was already dead. And that tells us how good your knight d4 move was, actually. Really, really good. Yeah, like you forced them to come back and defend c2. You took control of f3. Then you just come after this knight. No. Your knight d4 move hurt them. So the mistakes are these two moves here, which you correctly highlighted before, knight g5 and queen e3, both mistakes. And then this knight e4 is just a bad position, not a bad move. And if you want to say that a move is bad, I think you're perfectly ready for this lesson in game analysis, Pony Labyrinth. If you want to say that a move is bad, you need to be able to suggest an improvement, a better move. Otherwise, you just have a suspicion it's bad, but you haven't proven it yet, right? So if I want to say that this move is bad, I have to show the move that could be played instead and how that move leads to a better evaluation than this move, knight ce4, right? So, okay, if you did a bunch of analysis, maybe you could show that knight f7 was slightly better. And then you could put a question mark on knight ce4. But by the time you're looking at knight f7 and saying, like, okay, that's slightly better, you'll probably just give this move a dubious or a question mark, not a double question, because you'll see that, it doesn't help white's position that much to play knight f7. Okay, so this happens. Play a very precise way of winning the piece. You threaten something evil. I could have just traded, but this creates more attacking opportunities. There are tactics on the board, and the queen is in danger. Oh! Pony Labyrinth is calculating pretty dirty here. Very confident, with the not insisting on trades, just playing normal moves. crushing. No, Panda World. This thing here is actually Chess Dojo. It's our own website. Yeah, programmed by Jack. It's a system where you can put in your games and annotate them, and then other people can go and watch the games and put comments on them, etc. Yeah, you're welcome. It's to make it easier for the people in our training program to work together, to work as training partners, right? Because they can easily look at each other's games and give feedback. And it's not just the games, but it's the analysis, right? Like you see that the player here has put in some comments and ideas about the game, so then their training partners can go have a look, and it generates an exchange. It facilitates an exchange of ideas, which helps everybody get better faster. All right, I marked it, Michael, and we're gonna go check out another graduate. Who else has graduated this week? We got a lot down here in the higher cohorts. Holy moly. Cross online with the final graduation of their life. Ooh, but we'll have to wait for Jesse for that one. That is incredible. I didn't realize you graduated cross online. Congratulations. For today, I'm just covering the graduates under 1,000. There's so many people graduating, as you can see, that we have to split it into 2 shows. So now we're going to check out the Chess Spartan. I am adult player with FIDE rating 1200 plus. Everybody with a FIDE rating is now 1200 plus, but that was written before. I am looking to play chess tournaments after a 10-year break. Chess.com Rapid the preferred because they're able to play more online. Currently 1482 has gone up 500 points. Next graduation 1550. So according to the Chess.com Rapid, they should be in the 1200 to 1300 cohort. Yeah, did I click on the wrong cohort here? Chess Spartan. It's weird. It's showing them as 900 to 1,000, graduating to 1,000, 1,100, but they're correctly already in 1,200 to 1,300. Lee Chess is over 2,000. FIDE is in the 1,500s now. It's gone up 300, but I think it's because of how FIDE changed their ratings. See, it's just all at once when FIDE changed the ratings on the first day of March. So that's not so useful. Tactics rating 1,000. They've done several tests, and their tactics is well below their chess.com and FIDE ratings, right? Normalized rating of 1232 according to the chess.com rating, and 1174 according to the FIDE rating. The tactics rating is in red because it's more than 100 points below the range where we would expect them to be for the rest of their strengths and weaknesses and ratings. So this suggests to me that this player probably needs to do some more tactics. Needs to emphasize the tactics work. Let's see their activity. Tactics in green, a quarter of the work. Endgame 42%. This is very rare to see somebody just chugging endgames. Wow. Normally it's a lot of games and tactics because those are the basics. The pillars for the first, 1,000 to 1,500 rating points. On the time breakdown, you see the tactics and games taking up a bit more time as well. So it was just that their endgame time, it wasn't that much. It was just very fruitful for points. Interesting. Has graduated yesterday into the 1,000, 1,100. But somebody has already moved them into the proper cohort as well. Let's see if they've got any games. They do. Oh, sorry, Alex. Hi. I'm great. Glad to see you. Hope you're doing well also. Middle game tactics, you know, everyone has their own way. But, you know, generally it's good to have some strength in every area of the game. So, Chess Spartan is playing black here against a Scotch game. This move was completely new to me. The standard idea is c4. It's a lot to know by heart. Yes, moving the queen for the second time, though it is unnecessary and very simply direct threat, easy to defend. Initially I wanted to castle, but I thought it was good to keep the queen in the b file, as my rook may have some chance. Yeah. Okay. Correctly saying castles would have been better. Agreed. Queen a5. You can also play knight takes c3, pawn takes queen, knight takes e2, bishop e2. But it develops two of white's pieces. That's the problem when you start moving around the same piece multiple times and doing fancy stuff, right? Look at this variation. You might be very proud if you could tactically notice that after a3, knight takes c3 is an even material trade. You don't come out behind nor ahead in terms of counting the pieces. Most important kind of tactics to be good at counting and calculating and going through, right? The takes tactics. But aside from the fact that it's correctly calculated as being equal here, we've got a problem. This piece just developed, and we've done nothing. So on top of that, the a pawn is likely to be weak kind of long term now on the a file. So that would be a terrible option for black. It's the kind of option that I would look for just because I like fancy moves a little bit too much. But Chess Spartan was very calm and normal with their moves here. Oh, the queen is not happier over here than she was on e7, is she? Here I was planning when my opponent was thinking. My idea was to open up the e file somehow, like c5, hitting the bishop, offering the queen trade, bishop takes c5, d6. Like this? But to my... Then I realized b takes c5, I cannot open my e file. So they wanted to play d6 here, attacking the bishop and blowing open this file to play rook e8. Unfortunately, there's a more salient thing going on with the white queen that has escaped Spartan's view, which is that the queens already are facing each other and hanging, basically. So here felt a critical moment. Calculated the right sequence as d5 is a fork and found that I'm winning a bishop. You are. Nice calculation. I wasn't expecting that after the previous comment because look, the alternative they give is c5, bishop takes d6, overlooking the queen is hanging. So they have some tactical vision to spot this one and also some tactical blind spots. It's a mix. Some people are better like aggressively tactically versus defensively tactically, or there can be other mixes of things that they are you know, there can be a mix of what tactics you do see or don't see. Some people are going to be seeing double attacks better. Some people are going to calculate captures, sequences better. So there's a whole mix on that. Okay, so d5 takes. Bishop f5, nice. Queen f4, check. King here. Boom. What? Did you really calculate all this? That's impressive, Chess Spartan. And there's that extra piece you said you were getting, but it was so long ago. It was incredible calculation. And you had your eye out for G4. You were ready for it. Okay, here you wanted to attack the king because it's cut off like this. Looking for bishop h3. You decided middle game tactics are epic on Dada. You know, seeing whether or not the queens are attacking each other on this open diagonal here can have a big impact on our results. But this was very nice, this rookie ATE4 thing. Okay, catch back up to where we were. Rook f4, kicking the queen, opening up the bishop on f5 for some squares. Again, I took some time to attack the king. This time I felt the queen stays on third rank. To make the queen move from third rank, I need to use my rook, so I got the idea. c5, rook g1, rook f... Ah, this is to open up your queen, attacking here and following with rook f3 and bishop... That's a great idea. Overall, here white resigned. Overall, I made an inaccuracy in the opening that has happened not because I have not seen any other choice. It is because of instinctive decision without analyzing the resultant position after I reached the b file with my queen. Utilized the mistake my opponent made without giving him counterplay chances. Learned a new variation or new play in the Scotch variation. Very good sum up, Chess Spartan. And overall, a very, very well played game. This queen b4 move, deciding to start wandering the queen instead of castling, was a fairly bad move, but it was the only mistake. Mark this game as viewed. Go back here to the profile. So, Chess Spartan. Oops. The ratings. This tactics rating should be worked on a little bit. I feel like you are worth the rating you have, and you should go up to this 1200 to 1300 cohort, whether or not you're in it right now. You should go up to that cohort. But note that when you get there, you're going to have to work on the tactics. Like, I saw some really good tactics from you, but also you definitely didn't see those queens were attacking each other on that long diagonal. It was mentioned in a couple of variations. It wasn't just that... it wasn't just that there was like a typo or a misspeak, or you were talking about d5 versus c5 or something like that. It came up in a couple variations. You were thinking of playing c5 and didn't know the queens would be attacking each other on that long diagonal. So there's strength and weakness at the same time here in the tactics, and so you need to work more on board vision and keep doing a fair number of basic tactics and seeing if you can maybe even get a little bit sort of faster at seeing the whole board view. And I think maybe you could focus on checkmates in particular, because this checkmate test score is lower than all your other scores. The checkmate test is on the Polgar mates, and so I think keep working on these Polgar mates where you're 650 of the way through 1,000. That's good, but keep working on those Polgar mates, and then when you finish them, take one more checkmate test and see if you score better than you did previously. All right. And with that, we are through with all of today's under 1,000 graduates. Let me maybe go mark a couple games as done. Ferguson's game still doesn't show up here. Hey, John. I hope you're doing great. And I hope your Raiders are doing great as well. Good to see you. I've got a question here. The main point of this show is we're doing the graduates, people who've gone up 100 points in their ratings in the last week. I mean, they may have been working on it for 3 months to get there, but everyone in the last week who's gone up 100 points and has moved up from one training plan to the next level up. But I also take some random questions in here. So Moscow's asking, what are the best ways to train OTB board vision at an advanced level for someone who is used to playing casually online? Well, Moscow, I would say to set up a real board next to you now and then and do some training on it, solve some puzzles on a real board. Just spend some more time with the physical OTB board. That's going to be the first step for sure. We're helping that vision. Okay, so Ferguson, I'm just going to try and mark a couple of these games as reviewed that I forgot to do so far. Definitely looked at a Germaniac game. Yep, we saw this game. Mark it as reviewed. Yep, King's Indian with knight e5. Reviewed. Should I try playing classical games online and set them up on my board? So basically I'm just using the phone to input and output the moves and playing normally OTB. That's what I do, Moscow. That's what I do. I've got this board here that I had just moved slightly out of the way. Somebody was in here using my computer with me for a moment, but you can see normally I've got my board right there, and I even use a real score sheet and a pen and everything, and I play my games on that board. That's how I do my training. Need a chess advice. I reached 2200 Lee chess bullet, but not able to improve further. What to do? Why don't you Google best mice online, do some research, and upgrade your mouse. Get a better mouse. Also important is the trackpad. Maybe get a better trackpad. I don't know good mice myself. That's why I can't tell you which one to get, unfortunately. And I'm not 2200 on bullet, I'm probably 100 points lower than you. Chess Olympiad prediction. India? I think India's the strongest team this year. I also predicted that before the first round, as anyone who wants to go back can check. I think this game here we also looked at, the Jobava London. Yep. That was never a Jobava London, but that White wanted to play a Jobava London. My trackpad must not be so bad if I've got the same one as Panda Whirl. Would it be suspicious that I'd be taking some time in the openings due to inputting, outputting the moves? Suspicious to who, Moscow? You're allowed to use your time as you like. If you're playing someone you can also be on video chat with them while you play. That's how I actually play my games, Moscow. My training games, I almost always Zoom with my opponent. And then I play here, and they can see me writing on my score sheet and thinking and everything if they want to. But no, I mean, people shouldn't be suspicious of you. Just be a normal person and don't worry. Don't worry. Trust in them to be able to trust in you. All right, Kevin. I think we looked at possibly 2 of Kevin's games. Let's see. This was the Caro, where they won a piece in the opening, so that we can mark as reviewed. And then I looked at a second game because I felt that game was too easy for Kevin. So I looked for a game where Kevin, for a second game, right? I think. Yep, and we reviewed this one. All right, I think I more or less caught up with marking reviewed in all the games I reviewed. A lot of cheaters use time in well-known theoretical positions, so if I have to put every move on the board before I'm putting it online, it might look suspicious. Yeah. Okay, well, just tell your opponent what you're doing if you want in the chat, right? Say, hey, I'm using a real board here and inputting the moves on it. Or just don't worry about it. You know, what they want to worry about is their choice, and you know that you're being honest. You can also play the first 5 moves quickly if you want and then catch up on your board. There's options. We shouldn't overly worry about that stuff, right? Just try to do the best we can with the lives we have, the time around us, and the activities at hand for us. All right, everybody, that was my show for today. That was Dojo Graduates for the week of September 18th, 2024 for the under 1000s. There are another wonderful group of graduates who we will see in the over 1000 show with Jesse either Thursday or Friday. I don't know for sure if he's doing it on Thursday or Friday. Sorry, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Sorry if I didn't do it quite like Uncle Jesse, but you know, there's probably good things in how everybody does things. And we also had a fantastic game today for anybody who missed it between Gukesh and Wei Yi. Oh my goodness, what a game! Fantastic. Jesse and I analyzed it. You can find the VOD on Twitch or on YouTube if you haven't seen that game. And you can slog through the grind with us. It was really fun. And tomorrow, I will do partial coverage of the Olympiad round as well. But we have our weekly dojo meeting, our dojo powwow tomorrow as well. So that's going to interrupt the show at some point. Falgri asked about Friday nights. Yep, there's Friday night fights this week. There's Saturday morning rapid as well. And we'll see you around. Yeah, be well, everybody.